Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. Triple H may have made a huge mistake by crowning new WWE champions, as per a Hall of Famer. The WWE CCO is in charge of the company's creative direction and has led the company since taking over the position. Last week on WWE SmackDown, not only did the Motor City Machine Guns become the #1 contenders for the tag team titles, but they went on to defeat the Bloodline on the same night and became the new champions. While they did so with Roman Reigns and the Usos' help, it was only their third match. Now, established in that position, fans will have to see what they do next. However, Bill Apter, a veteran in multiple wrestling halls of fame, thinks differently. Due to his innumerable contributions to wrestling, Apter has been in multiple prestigious halls of fame, including the legendary National Wrestling Alliance Hall of Fame. With many accolades to his name and in-depth knowledge of the wrestling world, Bill Apter pointed out a huge mistake that Triple H had made by perhaps crowning the Motor City Machine Guns as champions too fast. He said that the game made the mistake of thinking that fans would know them and put them over the Bloodline, taking Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa's titles from them after only 3 matches. He added that he wondered if it was too much too soon for the veteran team. Motor City Machine Guns are an incredible tag team. I think Triple H thought that fans would all know them when they came in. They kept saying that these guys have competed all over the world and won tag team championships. I think it was only after 3 matches they put them over to win the tag team titles. But what surprised me is that through each of the matches, they worked from under. They got killed in most of the match, but came out on top. So yeah, I think it was very good for the Motor City Machine Guns, but I was just wondering if it was too much too soon. He added that he thought Triple H may have expected fans to know them and consider them an established presence in the fanbase. However, Bill Apter felt that the stars might not be well known enough among the WWE universe. I think the Triple H thought that the Motor City Machine Guns were already established in the fanbase. But I don't know if enough of the fans knew who they were and what their history was. The Motor City Machine Guns will now have to defend the titles and establish themselves, hopefully overcoming their fast-forwarded rise to the top in WWE. Roman Reigns to betray the Usos and replace them with 2 debuting WWE stars at Crown Jewel? Potential Bloodline swerve explored. Roman Reigns and the Usos will be on the same page for the first time in over a year. The long-running Bloodline saga has been mapped out to swerve the audience at every turn. The upcoming 6-man tag team match pitting the OG Bloodline against Solo Sikoa's Bloodline shouldn't be any different. The original tribal chief may be a changed man, but he still craves power. Roman Reigns is dead set on getting back the Ula Fala, which seems to inadvertently corrupt people's minds. Taking all this into account, the head of the table could do the unthinkable and betray the Usos at Crown Jewel and replace them with 2 debuting WWE stars in Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu. Despite having Jimmy and Jay back on his side, Roman has to admit he can't get anywhere near the Red Necklace unless he has a permanent tribe. For what it's worth, the OG Bloodline didn't get back together because Roman Reigns needed help. Every member of the OG Bloodline was wronged by Solo Sikoa and company. The Street Champion stole Roman Reigns' Ula Fala and took over his bloodline in his absence. Jimmy Uso and Paul Heyman were kicked out of the faction. Meanwhile, Jey Uso lost his Intercontinental title, the only thing that solidified his singles success, courtesy of Solo Sikoa. Every member has their reasons to go after the Solo Sikoa-led bloodline. But once the business is over, chances are high that Jay and Jimmy will part ways with Reigns. The addition of Zilla Fatu and Hikuleo would add another layer to the storyline. As strange as it sounds, the heel versus heel dynamic would make the most sense, especially when there's a battle of supremacy. Does Roman Reigns have real-life heat with Cody Rhodes? In an interview with Flagrant, undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes opened up about his equation with Roman Reigns. The American Nightmare also addressed whether he has real-life heat with the original tribal chief. I don't think, no, we've never talked about any of that. 2 conversations. I've wrestled this guy at 2 WrestleManias, 2 conversations. One, telling him that I was coming on board and I was looking forward to it and maybe even apologizing about that. And then the other was thank you for the house, he said. Rhodes and Reigns are destined to cross paths again down the road. But for now, the American Nightmare has his sights set on winning the inaugural Crown Jewel Championship when he faces Gunther on November 2nd. As the excitement for WWE's Crown Jewel in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, reaches a fever pitch, rumors swirl about an unexpected twist for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. The WWE Universe has already seen countless betrayals and reconfigurations within the Bloodline, but this time, the stakes feel even higher. Fans wonder if Roman Reigns, the head of the table, is ready to execute one of the most shocking moves yet, betraying the Usos to bring in fresh, debuting talent and reshape his empire. Scene set, the Bloodline at a crossroads. Over the past months, Roman Reigns has watched his empire's once iron grip slip. The Usos, once his trusted enforcers, have shown cracks in their loyalty after repeated losses and lingering discontent with Reigns' leadership style. Solo Sikoa, another close family member and powerhouse in the faction, remains seemingly loyal but has begun showing signs of independence. And then there's Paul Heyman, the wise man, who has subtly hinted that perhaps it's time to introduce new blood into the Bloodline. The tension mounts as Crown Jewel approaches. Roman knows he can't afford another insubordination scandal with the Usos, and after consulting with Heyman, he believes it might be time to sever ties with his cousins, especially with fresh talent waiting in the wings, eager to make a mark. These new talents are rumored to be 2 colossal athletes, towering and powerful, ready to take WWE by storm and prove themselves under Reigns' ruthless guidance. Building the betrayal, the SmackDown before Crown Jewel. On the SmackDown episode before Crown Jewel, Reigns stands in the ring with Heyman, flanked by the Usos and Solo Sikoa. The tribal chief addresses the WWE Universe and sends a direct message to his cousins. We're a family bound by blood, but sometimes, family needs to understand their place, Roman begins, eyeing Jimmy and Jay intensely. The Bloodline has been slipping because of a lack of discipline. Loyalty isn't just words, it's in every action, every fight, every time you step in this ring. The Usos stare back, visibly uncomfortable but silent. Roman, however, is interrupted by none other than Paul Heyman. With his trademark grin, Heyman drops a cryptic statement that only adds fuel to the speculation. Tribal Chief, I believe certain changes may enhance the Bloodline's strength, its dominance, its future. Heyman's suggestion hangs in the air like a dark cloud, unsettling the crowd and the Usos. But nothing more is said, at least, not on SmackDown. Crown Jewel. The stage is set as the bright lights of Crown Jewel illuminate the Riyadh Stadium. Anticipation builds for the clash. The Usos are scheduled to face a mystery team, chosen by Roman himself. The whispers grow louder as fans wonder if tonight will be the night Roman finally discards his cousins for fresh talent. Before the match, there's a backstage segment where the Usos, Solo Sikoa, and Roman stand together. The tension is so thick it's almost palpable. Jimmy and Jay both confront Roman, questioning his loyalty to them and his motives. Roman, however, remains as stoic as ever, barely looking at them as he responds. You're either with me, he says coolly, or you're in my way. The Usos, stung but defiant, walk out to the ring, ready for their match. The big reveal, new Bloodline members debut. The Usos wait in the ring, prepared to face whoever Roman has chosen. The crowd buzzes, wondering who the mystery team could be. Suddenly, the arena goes dark, and the ominous beats of new entrance music echo through the stadium. 2 enormous figures emerge, making their way to the ring with an imposing aura. It's clear from their size and presence that these 2 athletes are the rumored debuting stars. WWE has kept them under wraps until now, but fans instantly recognize them as powerhouse performers from the independent circuit, notorious for their no-nonsense wrestling style and raw aggression. They climb into the ring, and it's clear they are here not just to wrestle the Usos, but to send a statement. The Usos, initially taken aback, attempt to fight back valiantly. However, the fresh recruits quickly proved to be relentless, overpowering the Usos with raw strength and brutal efficiency. Every blow, every slam, seems calculated to demonstrate their dominance and allegiance to Reigns' new vision of the bloodline. The betrayal unfolds, Roman's cold declaration as the match continues, Roman's music hits. The tribal chief saunters out onto the ramp, flanked by Heyman, who appears smug and satisfied. Roman watches the carnage unfold, his expression icy and calculating. It becomes clear that this is a premeditated assault, an orchestrated show of force to establish the new bloodline hierarchy. The Usos, now exhausted and worn down, look up at Roman from the ring, confusion and betrayal etched across their faces. They realize what's happening, they're being replaced. Roman raises his hand, and the two debuting stars immediately stop, standing in military-like obedience, awaiting their next orders. Roman approaches the ring with Heyman, slowly and deliberately, savoring the dramatic moment. He grabs a microphone and stands over the Usos, who struggle to pull themselves up. He kneels down, speaking directly to his cousins. This is what happens when you forget who's at the head of the table, Roman says, his voice filled with a mixture of disappointment and disdain. You thought we were equals? You thought your blood alone was enough? Loyalty is earned every day. And you too, you've lost it. The audience gasps, understanding now that this is no ordinary match, but the final curtain on the Usos' role in the bloodline. Consider this your exile, Roman adds, stepping back as his new enforcers resume their attack, delivering their final punishing blows to the Usos. Solo Sikoa's moment of truth as Roman and his new recruits stand tall. Solo Sikoa approaches the ring, visibly conflicted. He looks down at his fallen brothers, then up at Reigns and the new members. The crowd holds its breath, sensing Solo's internal struggle. Will he remain loyal to Roman or stand by his brothers? Roman, sensing Solo's hesitation, locks eyes with him. Solo, you know your place. Make your choice. For a long moment, Solo stares at Roman, then at Jimmy and Jay. With a slight nod, he steps toward Roman's side, reaffirming his allegiance. The crowd erupts in boos, the betrayal now complete. Solo's decision adds the final, heartbreaking touch to the rift in the bloodline. Aftermath and fallout as the event comes to an end, the Usos are left broken, humiliated, and exiled from the faction they helped build. Roman, with his new enforcers and Solo Sikoa, stands atop the ramp, a ruthless and refreshed tribal chief. The message is clear, no one is indispensable in the bloodline, not even family. In Roman's world, loyalty is conditional, and power is the only currency that matters. Backstage, WWE superstars and fans alike reel from the betrayal. This reshuffling of the bloodline has set the stage for a new era, one where Roman Reigns reigns supreme, surrounded by fresh, hungry talents willing to do whatever it takes to serve him. Future implications: the bloodline's new era. The aftermath of this betrayal creates shockwaves in WWE. The Usos, left to pick up the pieces, are expected to return with vengeance, determined to reclaim their place or even destroy the bloodline from the outside. Meanwhile, Roman's new enforcers add an edge of unpredictability to his reign, proving that the bloodline's power has not faded but only evolved. With his new empire in place, Roman has made one thing clear: the bloodline is no longer bound by tradition, it's a dynasty ruled by dominance, and there's no room for the weak. WWE sends Jimmy and Jey Uso a message after Sami Zayn is caught talking to Solo Sikoa. This week's episode of Monday Night Raw was a mixed bag for Jimmy and Jey Uso. The twins kicked off the show with an in-ring promo where they spoke their hearts out and confirmed they were back on the same page. Following that, the Usos were part of multiple backstage segments involving Sami Zayn. The former honorary Us tried to talk Jey out of reuniting with his family, only to be shut down. Things came to a head when Zayn was spotted talking to Solo Sikoa in the parking lot of the arena. While Jimmy wasn't pleased about the situation, Jey Uso was left feeling betrayed. He and Sami have been close friends ever since they reconciled last September. It isn't known what the two discussed, but things might not be looking so good for the OG bloodline. WWE's official Instagram handle sent a message to the Usos following Raw. They posted a clip of them spotting Sami Zayn talking to Solo Sikoa, telling Jimmy and Jay to keep their circles small in the caption. It remains to be seen if Sami joins Solo's group or if he will remain a babyface. Either way, he is officially a part of the Bloodline Civil War. Spoilers on Jey Uso and Roman Reigns' confrontation on WWE SmackDown after some convincing from his twin brother. Main event: Jey Uso ultimately agreed to come to SmackDown and hear Roman Reigns out. Obviously, that promo segment already happened. Jimmy Uso requested Roman Reigns to fix his relationship with Jey Uso. The YEET master came out a bit later, before naming his condition for teaming with the OTC at Crown Jewel. Jey stated that he would walk away if Reigns showed him even a little disrespect. The segment ended with the former undisputed WWE Universal Champion agreeing to Uso's condition with a one-word response, YEET. So, as of this coming Friday, it's official. The original Bloodline is finally back. In the aftermath of Sami Zayn's covert conversation with Solo Sikoa, tensions began simmering within WWE's landscape once again. Though the main stage lights had dimmed, the dynamics within the Bloodline faction were far from tranquil. To Jimmy and Jey Uso, the message from WWE wasn't just another storyline plot twist, it was a stark warning that loyalty was no longer an option, it was a necessity. For Jimmy and Jey, the tension had been building ever since they walked away from the Bloodline months earlier, drawing a line in the sand that separated them from their cousin Roman Reigns and his silent enforcer, Solo. In distancing themselves, the Usos had reclaimed their independence, standing strong as a formidable tag team unbound by Roman's iron grip. However, WWE's recent maneuver threatened to turn their reunion into a powder keg once more. The locker room confrontation. It started like any other night on SmackDown. The backstage area buzzed with activity as wrestlers prepped for their upcoming matches, trainers tended to injuries, and production staff ensured every detail was picture perfect. But near the locker rooms, Sami Zayn was seen in a hushed conversation with Solo Sikoa, the otherwise stoic enforcer of the Bloodline. Their voices, though low, carried an intensity that caught the attention of everyone who passed by, whispers rippling through the roster. The Usos weren't in the building yet, but the rumor mill had already spun out of control by the time they arrived. One of the newer talents, Austin Theory, was the first to relay the message, pulling Jey aside before his match. "You hear what's going on with Sami?" Theory said, eyes glancing around nervously. "He's backstage with Solo. Looked pretty intense." Jey exchanged a look with Jimmy, who immediately shook his head. They both knew what this meant, trouble was brewing. They headed toward the locker room, where Solo and Sami were last seen. As they neared, WWE officials hovered nearby, giving Jimmy and Jey an odd look. It was the same look they'd received during those tumultuous days when Roman had them under his control. The Usos felt a familiar weight of expectation, as if WWE was sending them a silent message, handle this, or we will. The confrontation with Solo and Sami. When they found Solo and Sami in the locker room, it was clear from Solo's clenched fists and Sami's pleading gaze that this conversation was anything but casual. Sami's voice, usually lighthearted, was strained with desperation. "Solo, just listen to me," Sami said, his eyes wide. "This has nothing to do with breaking up the Bloodline. I just want to make sure you're okay, that this whole thing doesn't tear you apart." Solo's stony expression barely softened. Jimmy and Jey entered, and the room fell silent. Sami turned to face them, an apologetic look in his eyes, but Jey's anger flared instantly. "What's going on here, Sami?" Jey demanded, his voice barely hiding the tension that had been building since the Bloodline fallout. Sami, though caught off guard, stayed composed. "I'm just checking on Solo, Jey. I know things haven't been easy for him." Jimmy stepped forward, his tone firm yet laced with a sense of betrayal. "Since when did you get the right to check on Solo, huh? You walked away from us just like we did, Sami. You're no longer part of this family." Solo's fists tightened, and his eyes shifted between the three men. His loyalty to Roman was unwavering, but deep down, he knew the Usos were still family. The air grew thick with tension, each man torn between past loyalties and future ambitions. WWE's message, loyalty or nothing. As the situation escalated, WWE management stepped in, sensing that the rising tension was too palpable to ignore. Triple H himself arrived at the scene, bringing with him an undeniable authority that immediately demanded respect. "I need all of you in my office now," Triple H ordered, his voice calm yet commanding. In his office, he leveled a hard stare at each of them. "I don't know what game you all are playing, but this isn't a soap opera. We're talking about the Bloodline here, one of the biggest factions in WWE history. You think the world isn't watching every single move you make?" The Usos exchanged glances, and even Sami had the grace to look chastised. Triple H's words had the weight of WWE's entire brand behind them, a reminder that personal issues couldn't be allowed to derail a major storyline. "Jimmy, Jay," Triple H continued, "you left the Bloodline, but that doesn't mean the story is over. You think you're free of Roman and his control, but as far as the fans are concerned, you'll always be a part of this family, like it or not." He then turned to Sami and Solo. "And you too. You're walking a fine line here. Sami, if you're going to talk to Solo, I expect it to stay professional. And Solo, you may be loyal to Roman, but remember, loyalty is a two-way street. You both need to think carefully about your next moves, because one misstep could set this whole thing on fire." A united, yet divided, front back in the locker room, the Usos, Solo, and Sami gathered once more, each man stewing over Triple H's words. WWE had sent them a clear message. The fans demanded unity within the Bloodline storyline, but loyalty couldn't be manufactured, it had to be real. "Sami," Jimmy said, breaking the silence, "we know you mean well, but Solo isn't some kid who needs protecting. He's our brother, and we'll handle this ourselves." Sami nodded, understanding the Usos' pride even if he didn't fully agree. "I get it. But just remember why we all walked away in the first place. We wanted freedom, to be more than Roman's pawns. I just don't want Solo to get trapped in the same cycle." Solo, who had remained silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke. "I appreciate you looking out for me, Sami. But I know where I stand. Roman's my blood, just like you two are." He looked pointedly at Jimmy and Jay. "Whatever happens, I'll deal with it. But you two better remember that family goes both ways." Jimmy and Jay watched as Solo walked away, his words hanging in the air. Sami gave them a small nod before heading off in the opposite direction, leaving the brothers alone to confront the reality of WWE's message. A dangerous alliance on the horizon. As the night continued, whispers of a potential confrontation between the Usos and the rest of the Bloodline began to circulate. Fans were left on the edge of their seats, speculating whether the family would reunite or implode. WWE's message had made one thing clear: the Bloodline story was far from over, and the next chapter would be determined by loyalty, or the lack thereof. For Jimmy and Jay, the decision was complicated. They had freed themselves from Roman's grasp once, but WWE's looming influence made it clear that this escape might have been an illusion. They would have to choose: embrace the family that had given them their start, or fight against it and risk tearing their legacy apart. In the end, as the SmackDown stage lights dimmed and the audience erupted with anticipation, the Usos knew their next move would have to be decisive. But whether they would stand together with Solo and Roman, or stand against them, remained to be seen. All they knew was that WWE was watching, waiting for their answer. WWE star to turn heel after a year and join Solo Sikoa's bloodline, only to betray him? Potential twist explored. The Bloodline saga in WWE continues to unfold with high anticipation for the upcoming clash between the OG Bloodline and Solo Sikoa's faction at Crown Jewel 2024. The WWE Universe is thrilled about this family showdown, and the latest episode of Raw added a surprising twist involving Sami Zayn. Initially, the former honorary US was seen backstage with JUSO, advising him not to get involved in the family feud again. However, the YEET master dismissed this advice, stating that it was a family matter. Later, Jimmy USO spotted Sammy in a private conversation with Solo Sikoa. This moment shocked Jay, who had placed significant trust in his former bloodline ally. This scene led to speculation that Sami Zayn might turn heel after a year to join Solo Sikoa's bloodline faction, only to betray him later. It's possible that after this conversation, Solo will convince the 40-year-old star and manipulate him to get recruited into the faction. However, as events unfold, Sami might regret his decision and eventually betray the self-proclaimed tribal chief to side with the OG bloodline. If this heel direction for Sami Zayn materializes, it could be a brief arc for him in WWE. After all, even WWE knows that aligning Sami with the OG bloodline would be more impactful for the storyline than his alliance with Solo Sikoa's faction. Solo Sikoa has been planting seeds for Sami Zayn's heel turn in WWE over the past few weeks after the recent interaction between Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn on Raw. Fans are beginning to see that the new bloodline leader may have been setting up Sami's heel turn for weeks. The Ula Fala holder has been sharing posts featuring the 40-year-old on his official Instagram story for some time. Now, fans are interpreting it as hints toward Solo's intention to recruit Sami into his faction against the OG bloodline. Interestingly, during Roman Reigns' entire bloodline storyline, Solo was the only member who never had a personal feud with Sami. However, Jimmy, Jay, and even Roman each had conflicts with him that ultimately led to Sami turning on the head of the table and leaving the faction. The fact that the new bloodline leader hasn't had any personal rivalry with Sami Zayn adds an intriguing layer to the storyline. Overall, these subtle details strengthen the possibility that Solo Sikoa might successfully recruit Sami Zayn into the Bloodline 2.0 on SmackDown. Only time will reveal what will unfold following their recent conversation on WWE Raw. In the WWE universe, few things spark as much fan buzz as a well-executed heel turn. For one up-and-coming superstar, after a year of honing their skills, aligning with the ruthless Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline seems like a no-brainer. But what if this alliance was only the first act in a shocking betrayal? Let's explore this storyline and the potential twist that could send shockwaves through the WWE. The setup: the story begins with WWE's promising talent, Ricochet, who had been on a year-long journey of highs and lows. Known for his high-flying athleticism and a magnetic connection with the fans, Ricochet is a crowd favorite. However, over the past few months, his interactions with the WWE Universe have been strained. As he chases championship gold and repeatedly falls short, frustrations mount. A locker room confrontation with an arrogant opponent finally pushes him over the edge. Ricochet feels he's been overlooked, and something inside him snaps. The fans sense a change. He's not the bright-eyed competitor they remember. He's more focused, intense, and ruthless in the ring. Then, he crosses paths with Solo Sikoa. Solo, now the enforcer of the bloodline in Roman Reigns' absence, has been searching for someone capable of adding another layer of power to the faction. With Roman occupied elsewhere, the bloodline needs a fresh face to bolster their reputation and keep the family name dominant on WWE SmackDown. Ricochet sees this as the perfect opportunity. Aligning with Solo and the bloodline gives him the platform he's been waiting for. The alliance: it's on an episode of SmackDown that Ricochet first aligns with Solo. After a brutal match against a high-profile opponent, Ricochet steps into the ring, seemingly to help his fallen adversary. But, to the shock of everyone in the arena, he turns on his former friend, delivering a savage assault. Solo joins him, and together, they decimate the unsuspecting opponent. The crowd's boos shake the arena, but Ricochet is unfazed. The next week, he steps out wearing the bloodline colors alongside Solo, officially marking his allegiance to the family. The dynamic between Solo and Ricochet is immediately intriguing. Solo, with his raw power and no-nonsense demeanor, contrasts with Ricochet's acrobatics and technical finesse. Together, they're unstoppable, tearing through the tag division, leaving a trail of broken opponents behind them. Ricochet, now calling himself the Flight of the Bloodline, embraces his new heel persona. He's faster, meaner, and more determined than ever. Solo and Ricochet quickly become an intimidating duo, their contrasting styles adding to their dominance. Behind the scenes, Ricochet's darker persona shines through. No longer interested in making friends, he alienates himself from former allies, spouting off about his superiority and ruthlessness. Solo, who had initially seen Ricochet as a valuable ally, grows to trust him completely. Their partnership is solidified when Ricochet aids Solo in a high-stakes match, delivering a chair shot to their opponent when the referee's back is turned. With Ricochet's help, Solo scores a major victory, cementing their status as a feared force on SmackDown. The tension begins, however, as the months roll on, cracks begin to appear. Ricochet starts to feel constrained by the role he's been assigned in the Bloodline. He may be flying high as Solo's right-hand man, but he realizes he's playing second fiddle to the Enforcer. Ricochet's simmering ego resurfaces, whispering that he deserves more, that he's capable of leading, and that he shouldn't be living in Solo's shadow. Solo, who has sensed the shift, confronts Ricochet in a backstage segment on SmackDown. Solo warns him to stay in line, reminding him that in the Bloodline, loyalty comes first. But Ricochet, visibly annoyed, merely nods, his eyes betraying his frustration. Tension bubbles beneath the surface, and it becomes clear that a power struggle is imminent. In the following weeks, Ricochet's subtle hints of rebellion grow. During one tag team match, he accidentally costs Solo the win, missing a crucial move. Fans catch on quickly, the seeds of dissent are clear. Solo, known for his unforgiving nature, starts to question Ricochet's loyalty. The once unbreakable alliance begins to fracture, and WWE commentators begin speculating that the Bloodline may have internal troubles. The betrayal, the turning point, arrives at the upcoming Survivor Series. Solo Sikoa is set to face a top competitor, and Ricochet is scheduled to be in his corner. Fans are buzzing, aware that Ricochet's loyalty is waning. But what no one realizes is the magnitude of the betrayal that's about to unfold. As the match progresses, Solo finds himself in a brutal fight. Just when he's close to securing the victory, his opponent distracts the referee, and Solo looks to Ricochet to assist him in a critical moment. However, instead of offering support, Ricochet stands there, smirking. Confusion and shock flash across Solo's face. Finally, Ricochet rolls into the ring, acting as if he's about to help, only to deliver a devastating finisher to Solo. The arena erupts as the once steadfast ally has now become the ultimate traitor. With Solo incapacitated, his opponent quickly capitalizes, pinning Solo and securing the victory. The commentators are in an uproar, and the crowd's boos rain down. Ricochet, standing over Solo's fallen body, sneers. This was his plan all along, to infiltrate the Bloodline, gain Solo's trust, and then destroy him from within. The betrayal is a jaw-dropping moment, one that fans won't forget anytime soon. The aftermath and twist. In the weeks following Survivor Series, Ricochet steps into the spotlight, relishing in his newfound notoriety. He explains his actions in a fiery promo, revealing that he had always resented being a pawn in the Bloodline. Ricochet wanted to make a name for himself and prove he was more than just a sidekick to Solo. Betraying the Bloodline was his way of taking control, breaking free from the constraints of loyalty, and establishing himself as a force to be reckoned with. However, his betrayal does not go unpunished. On the following SmackDown, Solo, bruised and battered, returns with a vengeance. He confronts Ricochet, making it clear that the Bloodline does not forgive treachery. Their ensuing feud is intense, personal, and brutal, with each match more vicious than the last. Ricochet and Solo's rivalry grows to become one of WWE's most talked-about storylines, with both men determined to prove their dominance. But just when fans think they've seen it all, a shocking twist arrives. During a high-stakes match between Solo and Ricochet, another member of the Bloodline appears, a mysterious figure dressed in the family's colors. The newcomer takes Solo's side, helping him secure a decisive victory over Ricochet. The twist? The newcomer is Roman Reigns' protege, handpicked to protect the Bloodline's legacy. Ricochet's betrayal inadvertently prompted Roman to take action, sending a new enforcer to ensure the Bloodline remains untouchable. As the storyline unfolds, Ricochet realizes he's made more enemies than he bargained for. No longer a part of the Bloodline but forever marked by his betrayal, Ricochet now finds himself hunted, forced to fight his way through WWE's most powerful faction alone. It's a tale of ambition, betrayal, and a man who dared to defy the Bloodline, only to find himself outmatched in the end. In the aftermath of a chaotic WWE crown jewel, speculation is brewing within the wrestling world about the future of the WWE's most dominant faction, the Bloodline, and the controversial decision-making by Triple H. This time, it's a Hall of Famer who's stepping forward to offer a brutally honest take on the current state of the faction and WWE's championship scene. The Hall of Famer, known for his no-nonsense approach to the business, didn't hold back as he expressed his frustration with Triple H's recent actions, suggesting that the game's judgment might lead WWE into dangerous territory. In an exclusive interview, Hall of Famer Booker T gave his perspective on what he perceives as a massive miscalculation by WWE's head of creative. "Look, the Bloodline is probably the best thing WWE has had going for a long time," Booker T said, not mincing his words. "You don't just break that up or start crowning new champions without a solid plan. I'm talking about real, calculated, long-term vision. If Triple H thinks that a quick shakeup will get fans buzzing, he's going to find out real fast that it doesn't work that way." A change in the power dynamic since taking over WWE's creative reins, Triple H has been lauded for reinvigorating the product and establishing storylines with depth. But when it comes to the Bloodline, Booker T believes that Triple H's latest moves have jeopardized the faction's legacy and might even cost WWE its top storyline. At Crown Jewel, the landscape changed drastically when Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso failed to capture the undisputed tag team championships from Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. This loss left the faction in turmoil, with Roman Reigns reportedly furious over his cousin's failure. However, that wasn't the only issue. Triple H's decision to introduce a new championship belt and crown a new WWE champion has brought a fresh face into the spotlight. In Booker T's view, this decision risks diminishing the prestige of Roman Reigns' near-unbreakable reign as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. For 2 years, the Bloodline held a firm grip on WWE, with Reigns at the helm, and Booker T warned that these rapid shifts could disrupt that legacy. "Roman Reigns has made that title mean something bigger than it's been in years," Booker explained. "Now you're bringing in another title, crowning a new champion? Look, it's fine to give fans new champions and fresh talent, but timing is everything. Triple H could have waited, built up a storyline that gave a true clash between the current champion and the newcomer. But what he's doing is taking away from Reigns' legacy, and that's not how you maintain a dynasty." Roman Reigns reacts to the changes. Reports have surfaced that Roman Reigns himself wasn't pleased with these new developments. Known for his meticulous approach to his craft and fierce loyalty to his family, Reigns was seen backstage after Crown Jewel in a heated conversation with WWE officials. While WWE has kept tight-lipped about Reigns' reaction, sources say that he felt blindsided by Triple H's decision to crown a new champion without involving him in the storyline or consulting him about the direction of the Bloodline. "Roman's a professional, he's one of the best in the business," Booker T acknowledged. "But he's also invested in the Bloodline story. This isn't just another faction, this is a family legacy. I'd be ticked off, too, if I was him, and I'd feel like my hard work was just set aside because someone thought a shiny new title would make waves. WWE needs to be careful because if you keep playing with fire, you're going to get burned." It's not just Reigns who's reportedly discontented. Paul Heyman, the Bloodline's wise man and strategic advisor, is also rumored to be unsettled by the recent shifts. Heyman, known for his brilliance in storytelling and faction management, had allegedly pushed for a more dramatic approach, one that would ultimately keep Reigns and his family on top. Yet, with Triple H's quick decision-making, Heyman's influence may have been undermined, leading to a quiet but noticeable tension behind the scenes. Fans divided over the new champion. Meanwhile, fans have been split on Triple H's decisions. Some argue that crowning a new champion brings excitement and provides the opportunity for new rivalries. However, many die-hard fans of the Bloodline and Reigns see this move as a disrespect to what Reigns and his family have built. Social media has been ablaze with fans voicing their disappointment and speculating on whether the Bloodline's era is over, some even saying that Triple H is risking alienating his loyal fan base by rushing through major changes without a cohesive storyline. Fans are passionate, and WWE needs to listen to them, Booker T commented, noting the fans' outcry. The Bloodline isn't just another faction, they've been the lifeblood of WWE storytelling. You take that away too quickly, and you risk losing the fans who've been there through it all. You can't just slap a new title on someone and expect fans to move on. They're invested in Roman, in Jay, in Jimmy, in Solo. That's what WWE is built on, that connection. Where does the Bloodline go from here? As the dust settles, the question remains, what's next for the Bloodline? Booker T believes that if WWE wants to salvage the storyline and keep fans invested, it needs to go back to basics, re-establishing the Bloodline's dominance in a way that feels organic and true to their journey. The Hall of Famer suggested that instead of rushing new champions into the mix, WWE should focus on bringing tension within the Bloodline, creating a slow burn of betrayal and reconciliation that fans would rally behind. Look, if you want to shake things up, do it in a way that respects what's already been built, Booker advised. Triple H is playing with something that took years to create. If the Bloodline falls apart, it has to be because of them, not because of a new title or rushed storyline. That's how you create magic. Slow it down, let Roman get mad, let Jay and Jimmy feel conflicted, let Solo rise as a potential leader. There's so much there, but you need patience, man. It's hard to predict where WWE will go from here, but one thing is clear, the foundation of the Bloodline has been shaken. And Triple H's decision to introduce a new championship has only added fuel to the fire. Booker T warned that WWE must tread carefully if it wants to maintain fan interest and respect the legacy that Reigns and the Bloodline have built. As he wrapped up his thoughts, Booker issued a final, heartfelt warning to Triple H: "You've got the biggest story WWE's seen in a decade right here. Don't rush it. Don't break it for the sake of something new. Listen to the fans, respect the talent, and keep building. The Bloodline isn't done, not by a long shot. But they deserve a real story, not just a shock factor." If Triple H doesn't realize that, he's making a major mistake, and trust me, the fans will let him know. In the world of WWE, nothing is certain. One bad move, one mistimed storyline, and even the most unbreakable faction can come tumbling down. As the power struggle intensifies, fans can only wait to see if the Bloodline's empire will rise stronger than ever, or if Triple H's gamble has marked the beginning of the end for WWE's most iconic dynasty. TKO will fire Triple H as soon as one thing happens. WWE executive set to take over, says Lee Cole. Lee Cole, brother of former WWE ring boy the late Tom Cole, recently predicted massive changes in the Stamford-based company amid the recently filed Ring Boys lawsuit. He claimed Triple H and Bruce Pritchard would be fired as another top executive would take full control of the promotion. 5 individuals recently filed a lawsuit against Vince and Linda McMahon, WWE, and TKO for allegedly allowing open, rampant abuse of ring boys at the hands of former ring crew chief Melvin Phillips Jr. in the 1980s and 1990s. Speaking on his Wrestling with the Devil podcast, Lee, whose brother was at the center of the Ring Boys scandal nearly 3 decades ago, claimed Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Bruce Pritchard, among others, will be deposed for the recently filed lawsuit. As Lee predicted that TKO would have to let the game and Pritchard go, he stated that WWE president and TKO board member Nick Khan will take full control of the company, mark my words. You'll see this man, Nick Khan, take over. Right now, he's kind of in charge already, but he's gonna really be in charge. He'll bring in his whole regime and stuff, and he'll be part of the changes. And they're not gonna deal with these guys like Pritchard. They're not gonna deal with a Triple H anymore because they can't. They have to answer to their stockholders, he said. 11 to 11/24. He pointed out that he believes these changes will happen as soon as the depositions start. Here's my prediction, people. Triple H is out. Once the depositions start, he's out. Bruce Pritchard is out. Once the depositions start, he's out. Nick Khan takes full power, full control of WWE and runs it for the TKO group. 1824 to 1838. Lee Cole thinks Stephanie McMahon may have a brief return to WWE on the same episode of Wrestling with the Devil. Lee Cole addressed Stephanie McMahon's potential return to WWE. He claimed the billion-dollar princess could have a brief comeback. However, Tom Lee's brother predicted that TKO would also want to cut all ties with Vince McMahon's daughter. Hence, her potential return would be short-lived. Anybody that thinks Stephanie McMahon is going to be coming back, she might come back, but it's going to be very temporary because these people are all going to be deposed, he said. While Triple H continues to run the creative process in the Stamford-based company, his wife, Stephanie, recently confirmed her return at WrestleMania 41. However, the former chairwoman has not officially been part of the promotion since her resignation in January 2023. In the hushed corridors of WWE headquarters, a storm was brewing. Rumors whispered through the walls, sending shivers down the spines of those who had come to rely on Triple H's vision for the company. The buzz centered around a key turning point, the impending signing of a major television deal. TKO Group Holdings, the parent company of WWE, was poised to make a decision that would alter the landscape of professional wrestling forever. Lee Cole, a respected journalist and insider in the wrestling community, had the inside scoop. He was known for his accurate predictions and unyielding integrity. As he walked through the bustling halls filled with executives and wrestlers, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the precipice of monumental change. If they finalized this deal with a major network, it could very well signal the end of Triple H's reign as head of creative, he mused, mentally preparing for the backlash that would follow his next report. Cole had been following Triple H's journey since the inception of NXT, where the former wrestler turned executive had revitalized the brand, presenting a fresh take on wrestling storytelling and character development. But the tides of change often rolled in on silent waves, and the ever-expanding vision of TKO was clashing with the increasingly stubborn approach of the game. Word on the street was that TKO's executives were looking for a new vision, one that would resonate with a broader audience, particularly the coveted younger demographic. Triple H's often nostalgic and in-depth storytelling, while beloved by some, was viewed by others as out of touch. The focus was shifting towards a more mainstream, marketable product that would drive viewer engagement. The rumblings grew louder, echoing through the industry. If TKO signs this deal, Triple H will be out the door faster than you can say King of Kings. The day of reckoning arrived. WWE's executives gathered in a high-stakes meeting, including TKO CEO Nick Khan and COO Frank Riddick, as well as several top network representatives. The air crackled with tension as Cole sat on the edge of his seat, pen in hand, ready to take notes on what would potentially be a historic turning point for the company. "Gentlemen, we are on the cusp of something groundbreaking," Khan declared, his voice reverberating through the boardroom. "This deal could propel us to heights we've never seen before. But it's going to take a fresh approach to our content, one that can attract not only our loyal fan base, but also new viewers." As the executives discussed their strategy, the focus shifted to the creative direction of WWE programming. The conversation shifted from logistics to the importance of storytelling. "What we need is a revamp," Riddick asserted. "We can't keep recycling the same ideas. We need innovation." Lee Cole leaned in, sensing an opening. "Are you suggesting a complete overhaul of the creative team?" he asked, his curiosity piqued. "Let's just say there's a strong possibility," Khan replied, glancing toward the corner of the room where Triple H's empty chair sat. "If we want to capture the attention of a new generation, We might need to rethink our leadership in creative. The implications of that statement hung heavy in the air. It was clear to Cole that the tide was turning, and Triple H's future was precarious. He quickly jotted down notes, aware that the fallout from this meeting would send shockwaves through the wrestling world. As the meeting concluded, the executives filed out, their conversations buzzing with excitement and anxiety. Cole remained behind, hoping to catch a glimpse of the men at the helm of this monumental shift. It wasn't long before he was approached by a low-level executive who had become an ally in the industry. "Lee, you didn't hear this from me," the executive whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "But if they pull the trigger on this deal, it's going to be a bloodbath. TKO has already started scouting potential replacements for Triple H." The journalist's heart raced. He knew this was the story he had been waiting for. The wrestling community would want to know about the impending changes at the top, and he was determined to break the news before anyone else. But he also felt a twinge of regret. Triple H had transformed NXT into a breeding ground for talent and had revitalized the main roster. He had stood at the forefront of change, pushing boundaries and creating compelling storylines that resonated with fans worldwide. The next few days were a whirlwind of speculation and rumors. Cole's article hit the internet like wildfire, igniting discussions on social media and among wrestling forums. Fans were divided. Some feared a return to the PG era of wrestling, while others longed for a fresh start devoid of Triple H's sometimes convoluted storytelling. As the weeks passed, tension mounted. Triple H had become aware of the swirling rumors, and the uncertainty weighed heavily on him. In a rare interview with a wrestling podcast, he addressed the speculation with a calm but determined demeanor. "I'm committed to what we're building here," he stated. "WWE is about evolution. If I'm still a part of that evolution, then I'll continue to push forward." But behind the scenes, the pressure was mounting. TKO had begun meeting with potential candidates to replace him, with names like Shawn Michaels and even Paul Heyman being floated as possible successors. The thought of losing his position sent a chill through Triple H, who had dedicated his life to the wrestling business. Then came the day of the announcement. TKO Group Holdings officially signed the deal with a major network, and the wrestling world erupted. In a press release, they declared their vision for WWE's future, a vision that would shift the company towards a more mainstream approach, focusing on marketability and viewer engagement. The statement concluded with a mention of new leadership in the creative department. The news hit like a tidal wave. Lee Cole watched the reactions flood social media. The comment sections exploded with anger, excitement, and confusion. Fans felt betrayed and hopeful all at once, unsure of what this meant for the future of their beloved WWE. Within days, Triple H was called into a meeting with TKO executives. As he walked into the room, he felt a sense of finality. The stakes had never been higher, and he knew this meeting would change everything. Khan and Riddick were seated at the table, and their expressions were serious. "Hunter, we appreciate your contributions, but we need to go in a different direction," Khan stated, his tone diplomatic but firm. "We're making changes that we believe are necessary for the future of WWE." Triple H nodded, swallowing the disappointment. "I understand," he replied, his voice steady. "WWE has always been about evolution. If this is what you believe is best for the company, I'll support it." With that, the game walked out of the room, leaving behind a legacy that would forever be etched in the annals of wrestling history. Lee Cole, armed with the truth, prepared to report on the end of an era and the dawn of a new one. The world of wrestling was changing, and with it came the promise of new beginnings, even as the shadow of nostalgia faded into the past. Roman Reigns to be removed from Crown Jewel due to injury and AMP, replaced by five-time champion? Possible swerve explored. Roman Reigns, Jimmy USO, and Jey USO are all set to lock horns with Solo Sikoa's bloodline at Crown Jewel 2024. The original lineup of the Samoan stable is getting back together and ready to go head-to-head against the new version. On the latest episode of Monday Night Raw, despite being outnumbered, the Usos battled Solo's faction, which is a big threat to the bloodline ahead of the Saudi event. There is a possibility that the Bloodline attacks Reigns to take him out just before Crown Jewel 2024, leaving the Usos in a handicapped situation. In a dramatic turn, the former Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn could make an astonishing return to team up with former stablemates and fill in for the original Tribal Chief. Seeds were planted on Raw when Zayn confronted Jey Uso. However, Jey told him he was not blood, and Jimmy Uso sneaked up on Sami while he exchanged words with Solo Sikoa in the parking lot. The return of the Honorary Usos will complete the original Bloodline lineup, which could lead to a War Games match at Survivor Series 2024. Will Roman Reigns win WWE Champion before Royal Rumble 2025? Recently, a fan on X, FKA Twitter, inquired whether Roman Reigns will regain the undisputed WWE Champion before Royal Rumble 2025 in the comment section of unknown source 4U Wrestling. In response, the source reported the original Tribal Chief is not expected to win the gold anytime soon. Additionally, another report by the same source suggested that Roman Reigns is also not going to be part of the main event championship match, as currently a singles bout between The Rock and Cody Rhodes is scheduled for WrestleMania 41. It will be interesting to see what Triple H-led creative has in store for the Bloodline saga going forward. With every passing month, the angles are unfolding to reveal new chapters. The arena was electric, the buzz of anticipation palpable as fans from around the globe prepared for WWE's Crown Jewel, one of the company's most significant events of the year. The lineup was star-studded, but the spotlight was squarely on the head of the table, Roman Reigns. As the reigning Universal Champion, he had built an empire, an unprecedented legacy that fans rallied behind. However, just days before the event, whispers of an unexpected twist began to circulate through the locker room. The announcement in an emergency press conference, WWE executive Adam Pearce stood before a sea of cameras and microphones, the tension in the room thick enough to cut with a knife. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious update regarding Crown Jewel," he began, his tone somber. "Unfortunately, Roman Reigns has suffered a significant injury and will not be able to compete. This is a huge loss for the event, the fans, and the company." Gasps echoed throughout the audience. Reigns had been poised to defend his title against one of the biggest challengers yet, a match that had been built up for weeks, featuring intense promos and emotional confrontations. His absence left a gaping hole in the card and a multitude of unanswered questions. A five-time champion steps in. As the news sank in, speculation began to swirl regarding who could possibly fill Reigns' shoes. The answer came quickly. WWE announced that a five-time champion would replace him. Cheers erupted, and the crowd buzzed with excitement as the familiar music of John Cena blasted through the arena speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, the man who has battled through every challenge and defied the odds is here." Cena's presence electrified the crowd, his iconic "Never Give Up" slogan ringing true as he accepted the unexpected opportunity. However, there was more than just excitement in the air, there was intrigue. Cena was not just any competitor, he had a long history with Reigns, and their rivalry was deeply entrenched in WWE lore. Would this be just a placeholder match, or was there a larger story waiting to unfold? A possible swerve as Cena prepared for his match against the mysterious challenger, the narrative began to shift. WWE's creative team started planting seeds of doubt and suspicion, teasing that Reigns' injury might not be as accidental as it seemed. The rumor mill churned with suggestions that there was a sinister plot at play, orchestrated by none other than Paul Heyman. Heyman, the mastermind behind Reigns' rise, had been acting strangely in recent weeks. The Advocate was seen backstage with other wrestlers, whispering and conspiring. Some began to wonder whether he had played a role in Reigns' injury to secure Cena's return to the spotlight, setting up a potential heel turn. The match builds tension as Crown Jewel approached, the build-up to the match intensified. Cena cut passionate promos, hinting at the possibility of dethroning a champion who had built an empire on lies and deceit. "I'm not just here to take Roman's place, I'm here to prove that I can reclaim my legacy," he declared, igniting the fans' fervor. Meanwhile, Reigns, who was still very much the focal point of the story, released a statement via social media. To my fans, I'm deeply disappointed I won't be at Crown Jewel. But let me be clear, I will be back, and I will reclaim what's mine. And anyone standing in my way, watch out. This declaration only fueled speculation. Many believed that this injury was a carefully orchestrated ruse to elevate the stakes of the match. Cena and Reigns had a storied past, and if Cena managed to win the title, what would Reigns do in response? The tension between the two superstars loomed over the entire event. Crown Jewel night. On the night of Crown Jewel, the atmosphere was electric. Fans filled the arena, their voices a roar of anticipation as the show began. The main event approached, and the stage was set for Cena versus the unknown challenger. Just before the match commenced, the lights dimmed, and a video package highlighting the intensity of the Reigns-Cena rivalry played. As the match progressed, Cena showcased his classic in-ring skills, but the challenger proved to be a formidable opponent. However, mid-match, as Cena was gaining momentum, a figure appeared at the entrance ramp, **** Roman Reigns, ****. The arena erupted, a mixture of shock and excitement palpable. The twist unfolds. Reigns stood on the ramp, his arm in a sling but an intense look in his eyes. "This isn't over, John," he declared, pointing directly at the ring. "You're not the only one fighting for a legacy tonight. I may be injured, but I'm still the head of the table." The distraction was enough for Cena to lose focus, and as he turned to address Reigns, the challenger took advantage, executing a surprise roll-up for the 3 count. The crowd erupted in shock. Cena had lost his chance at the title, but more importantly, the saga between him and Reigns had just taken a new turn. Aftermath and the swerve revealed in the following weeks. The aftermath of Crown Jewel unfolded with Reigns reasserting his dominance, claiming he was the rightful champion despite his temporary absence. Meanwhile, Cena's frustration grew. He publicly challenged Reigns, insisting that he deserved a fair shot without the distractions. But the more he pressed, the more Reigns' new narrative took hold. Was Cena truly the hero, or was he just another pawn in Reigns' grand game? As tension mounted, the swerve that had been hinted at finally revealed itself. Heyman, who had been lurking in the shadows, took center stage, announcing that he had been working with Cena all along. The manipulation had been multifaceted. He had orchestrated Reigns' injury to drive a wedge between him and Cena, ensuring that Cena would be in the title picture regardless. The final showdown, with the stage set for a climactic confrontation, WWE prepared for the ultimate showdown, Reigns versus Cena, at the next pay-per-view event. The stakes were higher than ever, with Cena seeking redemption and Reigns fighting to retain his legacy. Fans were left breathless, eagerly anticipating how this complex web of alliances and betrayals would finally unravel. As the story continued to unfold, the world of WWE remained on the edge of their seats, knowing that in the realm of professional wrestling, anything could happen. The injury that had initially derailed Reigns' plans had become the catalyst for a storyline filled with intrigue, suspense, and drama, a testament to the unpredictable nature of the business and the power of storytelling in the ring.